Hi, this lesson is the guided poetry reading for the poem Speech to the Young. You're going to need two things. The first thing is you're going to need your guided poetry paper, which can be found in your Module 11 packet. And it's the one right after the one from Mother to Son. And it looks just like this. Before we get started, please make sure that you fill in your name, first and last name, your period, your cohort, and today's date. Just like we did last time, we have this making inferences part. We'll be filling that in after we read the poem. So you also need your textbook, and we're going to turn in our textbook to page 194, and it looks like this. We see a pretty long title actually at the top. I keep shortening it to Speech to the Young, but we also see Speech to the Young, Speech to the Progress Toward, among them, Nora and Henry III by Gwendolyn Brooks. Say to them, say to the downkeepers, the sun slappers, the self-soilers, the harmony hushers. Even if you are not ready for day, it cannot always be night. You will be right, for this is the hard home run. Live not for the battles won. Live not for the end of the song. Live in the along. All right, let's take a look at the worksheet. We're going to be flipping back and forth quite a bit here. So first of all, the title is Speech to the Young. And what can we infer from that? Yeah, an older person is talking to someone younger. We could go a little bit further too when we see speech to the progress toward, because we know not only is she talking to someone younger, but she's encouraging them to make progress and to make improvement. Okay, before we get to this advice, even if you're not ready for day, I want to go back to the poem itself. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. Say to them, there's a group of people that she's telling them to talk to: downkeepers, sun slappers, self-soilers, and harmony hushers. So imagine them, picture these. What, somebody who slaps the sun. I don't want the sun, I'm not in the mood for it, right? Self-soilers. Now that's a pretty negative term. I don't think she means it literally, but if you think about that literally, like a baby who self-soils, that's pretty disgusting. But figuratively, to self-soil, they're putting themselves down. They're it's a very negative thing. And then harmony hushers, people who are quieting the music, be quiet, etc. All of these people, downkeepers, sun slappers, self-soilers, and harmony hushers, what type of people are these? They're very negative, right? So she's telling these negative people, or she's telling the young people to tell the negative people. We can all think of somebody like this, I'm sure. Even if you are not ready for day, it cannot always be night. What does that advice mean? Now, I always imagine when my kids were little and it was really difficult to get them up. And I would go in and I would turn on the light, and immediately the covers would go over their head. Oh, they didn't want to see me. They did not want to get up and out of bed. They were not ready for the day. They were still tired. They wanted to stay in bed all day. But life can't be that way, can it? Even if you're not ready for the day, it can't be night all the time. Life's going to happen, right? Life is going to continue moving on. So we'll put something like that in our chart. So life is going to continue even if you're not ready. All right. Then we get to her last bit of advice, but let's look at these other parts here. So she's saying if you realize that life's going to keep moving on, then you're right. And that's the hard home run. That's something hard to accept and hard to do, but if you do it, it'll be great. And she tells us, live not for the battles won. When did battles won happen? Those happened in the past, right? Live not for the end of the song. When did that happen? In the future. Instead, she's saying live in the along. So what does she mean by live in the along? She means live in the present. Okay, now you have a couple lines to fill in here. First of all, what kind of a person do you think the speaker is? And what text evidence do you base this information on? Now, we talked about those negative type people. We would call them pessimists, right? And if she's the opposite of that, what's the word for that? So you could use optimist, okay? And what in the line, in the poem, can you use to base the fact that she is an optimist, somebody who looks on the bright side of things? All right, when you're ready, we're going to talk about these questions that you're going to answer on your own again. And the first one is imagery. Just like we did in the last one, identify one image in the poem that you like and write a paragraph explaining what you think it is, what it looks like, or what it might act like. And remember that a paragraph is set up like an ACE answer. So introduce the image in your topic sentence, use text details to explain it, and then give me a conclusion at the end. Pause the video and come back when you're ready. All right, this one is new. We see the idea of repetition. Identify repeated words and alliteration in speech to the young and tell how this repetition affects the reader. So I'm looking for two things. Let's go to the poem and we're going to talk about it. So repetition would be words that are repeated. And we see say, live, live, live. Why would she emphasize those particular words? Okay, so that's one part of your ACE answer. The other part I ask for is alliteration. Now remember that alliteration is the repetition of beginning consonant sounds. Where can we find alliteration? Sun slappers, self-soilers, harmony hushers. Okay, the repeated S's, the repeated H's, those are your examples of alliteration. So those are the examples that you're going to pull and need to explain. So how are we going to explain them? What was the point? Why are they there? How do they help to emphasize her point? Okay, so make sure that you answer that. And that needs to be an ACE answer. It does not have to have a conclusion, but you need to clearly explain it. And then once again, your last one here is to write the theme. Remember that the theme is the message the poet is trying to help us understand. It's an important idea about life. It's her advice that she is giving us. It's not the summary of what we read. All right, when you're done, you can turn these in, preferably on paper to me, but if I am not there and I've added it as an assignment, please make sure that you note which way to turn it in.